bunch of people that got together at Fort Casper. We're going in wagons by horseback, and we're walking to Cody, Wyoming to celebrate the greatest birthday that's ever happened in the state of Wyoming. And all of us that love Wyoming, most of us transplants, are excited about this event.
It's going to be a wonderful event. I'll tell you, I've seen some great wagons and people coming. Got them from Florida now and all over. Boy, I tell you, it's going to be a fun time.
It's a great day for a wagon train.
Well,
They came together on the 1st of June, 1990, at Casper, Wyoming. They hauled in their teams of horses and mules, saddle horses, pack horses, buggies, coaches, and wagons. They were hitching up and heading out to follow the tracks of the pioneers. It was an ambitious project to celebrate Wyoming's heritage. 50 years before Wyoming became a state, a good stretch of the country was crossed by the most famous pioneer highway, the Oregon Trail. Their takeoff point was where the old Oregon Trail met the Mormon Trails crossing of the North Platte River. The Wyoming Centennial Wagon Train moved out of Casper on a paved highway. Up ahead, the trail would get rougher in more ways than one. For this was an expedition facing some of the same problems as the Oregon Trail immigrant trains that left Missouri in the 1840s.
Great. As long as we stay ahead of them. I get a little tired. The sand's just a little rougher. We're pretty well loaded for 11 people.
For the most part, the group was made up of a lot of strangers, and some of them had green horses and untested outfits. And like the pioneers before them, they fancied themselves as rugged, independent individualists. People who didn't necessarily like to take orders and abide by the rules set by leaders and committees. It was going to take the cooperation of everyone to ensure a safe trip. The Centennial Wagon Train was a remarkable mixture of cowboys, ranchers, farmers, Eastern tourists, children, retired people, self-styled renegades, and characters of all kinds. Some were seasoned horse handlers and wagon drivers. Some started out thinking they were experts but were learning a few things on the trip. Whatever their age or origins, they all shared one thing: the desire for a great Western adventure. Thousands of westbound immigrants passed through the rugged, dry spaces of southern Wyoming on their way to the fertile valleys of Oregon. Back in those early days of westward convoys, Wyoming was not a destination. The only people who stayed were the dead. The travelers back then faced little danger from Indian attack. Most of the fatalities came from disease and accidents. Some died in wagon wrecks, runaways, or drowned during river crossings, and there were many cases of gunshot accidents. In some places, the Oregon Trail was 3 miles wide. It was often a mad scramble among the immigrant trains to find feed for the livestock. Some wagon trains trailed along with 2,000 head of cattle. Folks on an 1843 wagon train left Missouri chomping at the bit for a new life in the far west. During the first days, they beat up their wagons and injured their stock racing for good positions on the trail. They got in fistfights over firewood and campsites. Some criticized their leaders and threatened to pull out. Travel, keep on, one leader reminded them. Nothing else will take you to the end of your journey.
I've been looking for a wagon train for about 3 or 4 years, and her dad called me looking for some mules about 6 months ago and told me about your wagon train out here. So I immediately got interested, went out and bought a pair of horses and started putting the wagon together. And we pulled 815 miles. We're right above Kansas City on the Missouri River at Atchison, Kansas. We pulled all the way out here to make this wagon ride, and we're enjoying it to beat the band.
Morning, morning. How you doing this morning? Where's that outrider of yours? Huh?
Out here in this part of Wyoming, there was still plenty of elbow room and wild, wide open spaces. It was good country for testing the skill of people, the strength of horses, and the durability of 100-year-old wagons.
Pull up a little bit slack. Pull up on it just a little bit.
I got it, yeah!
The weeklies want to be really good for people that are participating. Right. So I go ahead and consign like.
He says he's the last authentic mountain man in the world. He's lying.
Who is?
Timbered Yak Joe hasn't got nothing on. T-Tanner. No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't do it. Hasn't got nothing on foot, no.
Hey, can you get this?
Turn Millers.
Thanks.
Turn Millers will never be the same.
Nobody's had any fun yet?
Yeah!
Wait, they're getting the legs over here. Hold on, pull this way. Watch out, don't fall on me now. If you cross me, you're in trouble. We pulled you, Buck Boston riding sugar. Whoa! Okay? It felt like that old boy got dipped in the dirt out there. Okay, kids, we got one more thing, and then we're going to retire for the night, okay?
Pull, Dave, pull! Pull! Pull, Mule, pull!
I got you. I got you. Thirsty horses. Oh,
No, it's not the day.
I'm going to get my shower. Okay, who? Oh. Okay.
Come on, get him, get him!
Get him
in, kid! Get him! Get him in!
I wish I had a shot there. That's my last shot,
Up in Beverly Hills, got kicked out 'cause he couldn't pay his bills. Slept on a rug till he knew every bug. And stuffed the crack in the whiskey jug. Davy, Davy Crockett. Wild
Okay, they're fine. Yeah, there you go. Kiss her. Kiss her, let's go.
He puts that camera on me, and then he says,
Every day they moved on a few more miles and became a little better acquainted with their own livestock and their fellow travelers. And most everybody was seeing parts of Wyoming that they'd never seen before.
Got a handle? Yeah. They can like that. I gotta go around and go wagon. Yeah, nobody get hurt.
Don't raise up.
Not many people had been to a Wyoming town named Lost Cabin. This tiny settlement with a post office and old ranch mansion hosted the wagon train for one night before it headed back out over the dusty high plains.
We are Wyoming, proud and free. We are what America is meant to be. We are Wyoming, we will survive. We are the spirit, strong and alive. There is a place where the spirit is free, cool water streams and aspen trees, where the mountains rise from the valleys below, covered in pine and blankets of snow. We are Wyoming, proud and free. We are what America is meant to be. We are Wyoming, we will survive. We are the spirit, strong and alive. Those who were born under Wyoming skies reach out their hands to those who arrive. We all belong. There's room for us here. There's a hope for tomorrow, and the vision is clear. We are Wyoming, proud and free. We are what America is meant to be. We are Wyoming, we will survive. We are the spirit, strong and alive. We are Wyoming, proud and free. We are what America is meant to be. We are Wyoming, we will survive. We are the spirit, strong and alive. We are the spirit, strong and alive.
finally got to some good country where there's some grass. Way to go over the other side and jump back in the alkali patch.
7:30 we have a all camp meeting. And we're just going to be discussing the hill climb we've got to do tomorrow, and what's involved in that, and how we want to handle the logistics of that, and the possibility of a rest day since we don't have one till Worland.
Well, this gentleman hunts out here annually, and we're both in the seafood business in New England. Charlie said this is a chance of a lifetime. Don't want to miss it.
I came in this state 74 years ago on a wagon train and a cattle drive. I helped drive about 40 head of loose stock, and I turned 10 years old on the trip up to Wyoming. Last month I turned 84 years old.
Doesn't that sound good?
And I'm probably the oldest man on the train, I think. They say, everybody says, I think you're the oldest man on train.
There you go.
The 1990 wagon train route was blazed by a lot of red tape. Livestock movement and campsites had to be approved by the U.S. Bureau of Land Management. No loose stock on the range at night. No open campfires. Portable outhouses at every camp. Hay bales had to be certified weed-free. When you washed up, you used biodegradable soap. It wasn't quite the Wild West of 100 years ago, but it kind of made sense. After all, this wagon train was meant to celebrate Wyoming's past, not leave scars on the land for the future.
No finger sticking. You have to wait till you get a piece of cake. Okay? Are you ready? Yeah. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Shanda. Happy birthday to you. Woo-hoo!
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Getting the picket lines done.
That's the most water she's drank since we started. Long day. Well, she deserves it. She got all the way up here.
Old-timers know that camping on the prairie often means transplanting a little prickly pear cactus if a fellow wants to have a comfortable bedding ground for the night. Those who don't clear a spot for themselves could wake up in the middle of the night with a painful surprise. Out in this part of Wyoming, you'd expect to find a buckaroo throwing a rope. But now and then, we find one that can jump a pretty good lariat. And cowgirls that can lasso and drag a hay bale. And now and then, a politician who knows when not to throw the bull too hard.
I'd like to introduce you to the governor of the great state of Wyoming, Governor Mike Sullivan and his wife Jane Sullivan.
Somebody asked me a minute ago if I wanted to make a speech, and I said, no, these folks are having fun. There's no sense screwing it up with a speech by a politician. But let me say, we're happy to be here, and it looks to me like everyone is having fun. For those of you who aren't from Wyoming, let me give you an official welcome. For those of you who are, I just had an idea, and I think I'm going to check it out tomorrow. You know, if I went out and bought about a dozen hats and brought them out here and let you guys break them in, then I'd have a lifetime supply. I don't want to keep the entertainment any longer, so enjoy yourselves. Thank you.
On the high plains of Wyoming, the past is here again. Greatest wagon train the country's ever seen. Horses trained to the collar, the wagon master yells. The wagons, they begin to move, the pride begins to swell. Wyoming's wagon train, the wheels they roll again. Ghost of the past out on the plain. Along the Bridger Trail and across the Bighorn Range, on the Sage and Gumbo Prairies, where the Grable River churns. In the country where the red man roamed, the settlers headed west. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Bill Cody and the rest. Wyoming's wagon train, the wheels they roll again. Ghost of the past out on souls of those where the West will always live. 100 years we've been a state in the greatest land there is. But when another 100 years have passed, may the wagons roll again. Wyoming's wagon train, the wheels they roll again. Ghost of the past out on the plain. Ghost of the past out on the
Thank you. Well, everybody always asks me, they say, Val, can't believe you know as many poems as you do. And they always say, well, you can't come up with a new one. Who was that guy? Thank you.
That guy was none other than Val Geisler of Cody, wagon train organizer, songwriter, singer, sagebrush philosopher, storyteller, and horse trader. To hear him tell it, he's just about done it all. And even if you don't believe half of it, at least he'll make you laugh. Val took on the serious job of head wrangler on the wagon train. His responsibility for safe passage of the wagon train was shared by the trail boss. And in the Wyoming tradition, as the first state giving the vote to women, and which had the first woman governor, the trail boss was a woman. Kane Pyatt.
Back in August of '89, an old gentleman, a rancher out in Clark, Wyoming, Bill Humbert, put an ad in the paper that he wanted to do a wagon train for the centennial. And I had just gone on a 4-day wagon train ride on the South Pass and was real excited. I also had just moved back to Wyoming after living in the city for 3 years and wanted to do something myself. I love Wyoming, I love cowboys, I love horses. And so I went to that meeting, and Mr. Humbert stood up and said, well, I want to go on this wagon train, but I don't want to do it. And I said, well, I like to organize. That's sort of the nature of my being. And I said, I'll do it.
What kind of reaction, and what's it like being a lady trail boss?
Well, it has not been easy. However, I think the majority of the people are real accepting. I think they're surprised. First of all, my name is so generic, you might say, that a lot of times they're not sure whether I am a man or a woman, and I've had many letters come to me, Mr. Kane Pyatt, and I'll introduce myself to them, they'll say, oh, I thought you were a man.
Actually, you really haven't any experience being a trail boss, have you?
No, not being a trail boss. However, I grew up around horses, and my father was a cowboy, and I feel real comfortable. Actually, I feel like I've come home. Yeah, I've been doing the wagon train for so long, I feel like that's all I've done. And people ask me, what are you going to do when the wagon train's over? And I say, well, I'm going to look for a new adventure. One of the things I haven't done is, that I dream about too, is to see the whales and swim with dolphins, so maybe I'll do that next, I don't know.
That last camp before Worland was hit with the first real rainstorm of the trip. It doesn't rain much in this country, but when it does, it can be memorable. They didn't all know quite what to expect as they bedded down that night, but the wagon drivers and riders were in for a memorable day on the trail into Worland. mud on the trail, rain in the face, and wet horse flesh. It was an authentic pioneer experience now, but the spirit was high the closer they got to town.
Okay, I got squad 1 up there. I'll contact you. Squad 1, fire 1. We're at direct. Okay.
14 miles later, the hooves and iron tires hit the hard, wet pavement, and the people of Worland came out to give a warm welcome to the damp riders. The Centennial Wagon Train was joined in downtown Worland by a couple of dozen outfits from the 10 Sleep Wagon Train. The smaller train made the rendezvous after rolling through the last 22 miles in 6 hours. After 2 weeks straight of riding and rolling over the hills and prairie, it was time for the first rest days of the trip. They were halfway through the route to Cody, and these pioneers were damp, muddy, thirsty, and about ready for a few of the evils of civilization.
Yeah, good.
Some of those old codgers look like they're born in the West.
Born in the
Years
West.
ago.
Loved it. All right.
Loved it.
We're gonna have a centennial baby.
Beautiful.
I've never seen so many horses in all my life.
This is unusual. I enjoy it. I'm having a good time.
But the horses were fantastic. Very good.
I'll tell you, the wagon train was authentic. It really brought the old West back to us. It was great.
You missed most of it.
Missed most of it because nobody told us it was going to be early.
The next wagon camp was the fairgrounds, a place to dry out leather and canvas and rest a spell.
It was a heavy downpour. We was all soaked to the skin, harness and horses, and by the time we got everything ready to go and on the road, we was all soaked. It was a very cold, long ride for many miles coming into town.
Great. I loved every minute of it.
Well, I'm used to mud, but that was a mess.
Here it is, the 16th of June, and we need a rest. We all need a rest day. We all need it. And, in fact, I've been getting up 4:30, going to bed at 10, 10:30 at night, trying to keep things going and working out pretty good. But after 16 or 17 days of this, it gets tired.
Kevin Lauer of Cody was ready for this break. As one of the wagon train's 7 outfitters, he was wrangling and cooking for several dude clients. It was the New Jersey Transplant's first wagon train, and there were many details to take care of. Horses, wagons, tack, tents, bed rules, food, and fun.
Great. Just like Casper. You know, I've worked so hard on this along with Kane and Val and everybody and the whole board of directors. And you're sitting on a wagon and feeling the feeling that we're feeling with all the people welcoming us into the town, and really excited about it, even though they're not participating on the wagon train, but they're participating by watching us and cheering us on. And that's really exciting to see that. And,
what did that feel like?
just ecstatic, you know, and a lot of relief that, hey, we're here. You know, all those meetings, and 2-3 days a week we were having meetings towards the end, and we were all getting meetinged out. So it's good to see it working, and all the plans that we have made culminating, and everybody working so hard together towards this one goal, and we're wagon training. It's here. You know, there's dances and things going on, and bands playing, and they've really welcomed us with open arms. And the 10 Sleep train came in today, and as we came into Main Street, 15th and Bighorn, we came together and made one train, and boy, that was pretty nice. We're here, and Roland's being real nice to us.
Happy birthday, Wyoming! Happy birthday!
The skies cleared. The horses dried off and rested. The people danced, took hot showers, and packed up for the next leg of the journey. They said goodbye to Worland and headed back into the past, northwest, up the 15-mile creek bench, over the blooming June prairie of far horizons and plenty of sun, wind, and dust.
Dry those teardrops from your eyes. If you knew that I'd be leaving here someday. Well, I feel the breeze upon my brow. The wind has changed directions now. It's time that I'd be moving on my way. Hear the wind blow through the trees. My name is blowing in that breeze. That's my brother calling me again. And when he calls, I've got to go. It's always been that way, you know. I've always been a brother to the wind. I'm a brother to the wind that blows, and I go where my brother goes. And we will be together till the end. The restless wind is just like me, always and I'll always be a brother to the wind. Thanks a lot, girl, it's been fun, but I'll be leaving with the sun. I hear my brother calling me again, and when he calls, I've got to go. It's always been that way, you know. I've always been a brother to the wind. I'm a brother to the wind that blows, and I go where my brother goes, and we will be together till the end. The restless wind is just like me, always moving, always free. I love it, and I'll always be a brother to the wind. I'm a brother to the wind that blows, and I go where my brother goes, and we will be together till the end. The restless wind is just like me, always moving, always free. I love it, and I'll always be a brother to the wind. I love it, and I'll always be a brother to the wind. Yes, I love it, and I'll always be a brother to the wind.
On the third day out of Worland, the wagon train came off the prairie and onto the lip of the Badlands. The momentum slowed as each outfit set its brake and squeaked down a steep trail into the bottom. Some outfits used extra braking teams on the rear to fight weight, gravity, and inexperienced teams up front.
You're way over here.
The wagon train descended into a maze of wild-colored buttes and gullies. They were passing through the Willwood Formation, once a vast swampland on the delta of an ancient freshwater sea. Wind and water carved through the layers of fine red mudstone, shales, and siltstones. This centennial caravan might look antique, but it was rattling through the home of silent fossils from 40 million years ago. They were roughly following the trail Jim Bridger had mapped out in 1864 for Montana-bound gold seekers. It was shorter and safer from Indian attack than the Bozeman Trail, but it was hell on livestock and equipment. There was little water and feed on this route. Bridger's trail was a disaster and only used that one season. That day was hot, dry, and windy. It was several hours before all the outfits got down the hill, through the Badland knobs, and straggled into the camp on Elk Creek. There was a little bit of green running through these parched lumps of red desert. It was a colorful and scenic setting, a good location for making a Western movie, a good place to picket out the horses and mules, set up camp, and swap war stories about life on the trail.
We heard about it probably about a year ago, just after the Montana drive. So we got to go. We had so much fun on the first one, we have to do the second one. And it's really well organized. It's really a lot of fun.
Do you both drive? You drive?
No, I ride as an outrider in case she gets into any trouble.
No trouble yet.
Oh, we've had a few things fall out of the back, and I don't know, she lost her whip yesterday, and
nothing major.
And I just sort of let her know what the train is ahead in case she's gonna need to be braking or whatever, or if there's a ditch or something to go through, and we had that the day before.
What happened?
Horse trailer.
And it has horses in it.
Oh gosh, you guys.
Over there, and it's leaning off the edge, and it has a whole bunch of horses in it.
It's duck up there, isn't it?
Well, Scott wanted me to help.
That night, a rainstorm blasted the camp and left a wake of slick gumbo mud. No wheels could turn until the ground dried out. The wagon train would get an unscheduled rest day. Nothing much to do but dry off, get warm, and kick the mud off your boots and tell more stories.
We've been on since Casper, and we're going to Cody. We've had no problems with the wagon to speak of at all. One mule got sore right at first, but we fixed that. That mule's healed up pretty good. The other mule rolled in some cactus a few days ago and has a big abscess on her neck, but she's coming around too.
It was a steep hill. It came down. They had to put full brake on and hold it back, and then the horses held back a lot. That's kind of hard to hold back 3,500 pounds.
I drive some mules. I got an old wagon that's about 100 years old or older, and I'm really enjoying myself. I'm glad it's raining so we can have a rest. We don't need a rest. We've been spending like maybe 21 hours on every camp and 3 hours on the road. That's just what I was looking for anyway. I need,
I don't know how the pioneers did it. They had to have scouts that knew where the water holes were. And I imagine they lost a lot of stock and people along the way. And it's pretty tough to do on your own, but this is a wonderful way for us to cross Wyoming.
We started in Casper and hope to go all the way to Cody, where we live.
There he is.
I found the wagon in about 57, sitting on an old ranch where we were working, and the grain box was on it,
and we bought it for $20, and it's got the original wheels, the original axle, everything in the running gear is original. We do have a new tongue, a new coupling pole.
This morning we started out like a bad, wet, hard day, and has ended up as a beautiful, sunny, slightly windy day. And accompanying me are my wife and my granddaughter from Scottsdale, Arizona. Both act as outriders with my wagon. They have enjoying the trip as much as I, and we expect to end up in Cody on July 2nd, 3rd for the big Cody Stampede and Parade. How's that?
About your,
Yes, I'm going out to kick my heels, burn my candles, spin my wheels. You had me sad, baby. Now I'm finally over you, and I'm ready for something new.
Yeah, we all do.
Turn him loose! Turn him loose and set him free!
The dog is not dancing.
The Badlands dried out almost as quickly as the storm had hit. The next day they were rolling again, through the sunshine and dust. The wagon train was running a day behind schedule, mileage-wise, but time-wise they would just make it up by cutting out an extra rest day at the next camp. This would be their last run down here through these spectacular pyramids of scoured red earth. Then came a long climb back up onto the prairie bench of the Bighorn Basin.
Nelby.
Nine, Buffy? Nine. And anybody who gets up beforehand, I'll have the coffee pot ready. Just if they want it, they can light the fire.
Taking a morning bath, Leonard?
Yep.
They awoke from the trip through the dreamlike Badlands to a new view, the wide prairies and irrigated bottomlands of the northern Bighorn Basin. The trail wasn't quite as rough, and they were getting closer to civilization again.
They're learning, though.
Are they?
Yeah, they're learning.
Said if Jim Bridger would have heard about a Winnebago, he'd have waited another 100 years before he crossed this country.
Oh, they get cactus everywhere, and today he got it right here, and he just loves to be scratched right here anyway.
Nah, it's almost over. Everything's always better when it's almost over or over with.
Lots of nice people, had a good time. Really enjoyed just seeing Wyoming. Loved every minute of it. I'm ready to go to Canada and the Idaho one. And I mean, there are so many wonderful, wonderful people and down to earth, and you know, it's been great. You know, I'm hooked.
It's going to be nice, but it's going to be good to get home. Get in that big old hot tub and just so. I'd do her again.
It's a great experience. Wish we, I know I'm going to be sad when it ends.
I grew up believing a state was a name. Wherever you travel, they all were the same. Wyoming has grown and shown me I'm wrong. To the beauty and people, I know I belong. We're 100 years old, we're 100 years young. We're a story that's told, a song to be sung. We're a vision of pride and of equality. Here's to the next century. There's a sense of believing, a job that's well done, a legacy handed from father to son. We're cowboys and heroes and men of the West. The Wyoming good life is what we love best. We're 100 years old, we're 100 years young. We're a story that's told, a song to be sung. We're a vision of pride and of equality. Here's to the next century. I know in the future much will have changed, and God will look down on what He's arranged. A vision of heaven on earth all His own. He'll move to Wyoming and call it His home. We're 100 years old, we're 100 years young. We're a story that's told, a song to be sung. We're a vision of pride and of equality. Here's to the next century. Here's to the next century. Here's to the next century.
4 weeks on the trail through sun, rain, wind, dust, mud, and steep grades. They dodged badger holes, rattlesnakes, and cactus and put up with stubborn mules, horses, and each other. And it wasn't over yet. They had traveled over 200 miles and made it to Powell, Wyoming. They weren't far from the end of the trail, but Now it was time to camp on the grassy fairgrounds, relax, and take in a Willie Nelson concert.
Oh, I think it was great. I wish I could have been with everybody on the whole ride. How long was the ride?
260, 65 miles, 30
Maybe half of
days.
that. Maybe. 30 I'll bet it was.
The road to Cody crossed what the Indians used to call the Stinking Water River, but then the white man settled here and a pioneer chamber of commerce changed the name to Shoshone River. The wagon train had grown bigger for the last leg of the journey. Lots of new riders and wagons joined up for the trip past Hart Mountain. It was on the south flank of Hart Mountain that the government built a camp in 1942. Several thousand Japanese Americans from the West Coast were confined here during World War II. Wyoming's centennial year of 1990 also marked the year that the U.S. government admitted this injustice and began making payments to survivors of the Hart Mountain relocation camp.
Pony Express riders will be leading the way in today. They've been carrying mail from the wagon train campsite to the nearest post office.
Cody, Wyoming. End of the trail for the Wyoming Centennial Wagon Train. Founded by Buffalo Bill in 1895 and promoted ever since as a colorful gateway to Yellowstone National Park. On July 2nd, 1990, Cody welcomed the riders and drivers, the 30-dayers, and the last-minute tag-alongs. came the shock of trading the 19th century for the 20th. For some, it would be a time of sadness and fond memories. For others, a time of relief, triumph, and celebration.
Special edition of the Wagon Train. 1 for 35 cents, 3 for $1, 20 for $5.
The wagon train was over, but the party was just beginning. Any man, woman, or horse that made it all the way from Casper to Cody, well, they earned a drink, a toast to Wyoming.